All right, now, as I was saying with the applesauce, the recipe says a half a cup, so to double it'll be a cup. We only had about a half a cup of applesauce. That just means we're probably going to add extra almond milk for the moistness. Now be very careful with all these things. The applesauce, make sure it's unsweetened. The almond milk, everything, look at the ingredients, make sure they're unsweetened, or else you're sort of undoing the whole idea of having a low glycemic, low sugar muffin. So we got our applesauce, or half a cup of applesauce in. We're going to continue.
I bet you could mash a banana up in there too if you wanted to.
We could. Pappy is not crazy about bananas because Pappy is genetically very sensitive to sugar.
I forgot.
And I'm very careful about my fruit intake because that is actually a lot of sugar in fruits. Some of this you just got to get to know your body. Pappy genetically is very sensitive to sugar. So,
I'm sorry, Pappy.
No worries, Ron Howard. Now listen. What do we got? Let's do some extracts. I love me some extracts. There are those in my household who claim that I overdo it with the extracts.
They're not cheap.
But how can you overdo it? You take some almond extract, you stick her in there. Now, it says half a teaspoon, double it for a teaspoon, or your Pappy, you just stick her in there. Now, to be honest, there are some extracts that get way too heavy. I have anise and mint extract. You put a little of that in there, it can be overwhelming. Almond does a really good job. That even if you put in an extra, it still maintains a really a strong flavor, but not an overwhelming flavor.
There's a sweetness to almond extract too.
Yeah. The same thing with vanilla. I mean, you're all probably, I'm sure everyone's familiar with vanilla. I find that vanilla, you can put a lot in and it means strong. It helps with the sweetness, but doesn't get overwhelming. Be careful. I have mint and anise and other things. Those you have to be careful with because they can quickly overwhelm a recipe.
Should we use the real vanilla extract and almond extract, or should we use imitation?
Real stuff always. An imitation, you never know where she's coming from. It might be processed. It might be from China where they have -0 regulations. A lot of the food, a lot of honey we get, for example, from China is completely adulterated, so it's not even all honey. So the more you can get non-imitation stuff, non-processed stuff, just the real whole food straight from the farmer's gullet stuff, that's what you use.
I didn't know farmers produced extracts.
Well, they're like bees.
I didn't know it came from a farmer's gullet.
This stuff comes out of them like bees. Now we're going to I'll put a little oil. Now here's another trick Pappy does. First of all, it doesn't call for, look at that, we might even have to open a bottle. It doesn't call for olive oil, but I always try to use olive oil. It's wonderful with your omega-3 fatty acids, which help your good cholesterol. And it's also one of the healthiest oils. Extra virgin olive oil only. And what you do is you look at how much do they call for. I know it's in here. All right, so here's the thing. They actually call for a tablespoon of coconut oil. Coconut oil has a really, really high fat content and can go to your thighs quickly. So I use almond oil, but here's a trick. I don't double the almond oil, so in other words, I half the recipe for the almond oil. So the olive oil.
Olive oil.
So where normally we would double it to 2 tablespoons, I'm only going to put 1 tablespoon of olive oil, so that we sort of lowered our fat content. Again, with Pappy's metabolism, some oils are decent, like for Pappy, you don't want to overdo it. It's also age. Pappy's in those middle years, right? And so when we're not 20 and 30 something anymore, when we get middle years, our bodies slow down. We got to slow down on the sugars. We got to slow down on the fats. We got to slow down on the amount of food we eat. It's just the way the body works.
However, with a plant-based diet, one can eat quite a bit of food without having to have the itis after, which means wanting to take a nap, or without having to feel as though one ate like a teaspoonful of food and that's all we could eat. I eat a lot.
Yeah, but again, I think that's an individual thing. Pappy can't eat as much as Ron Howard, because the director, because of individual metabolism.
That's Ronetta.
So now we got our milk. So it says almond milk. I think you can use soy if you want. I really like almond milk for cooking. Again, make sure it's not sweetened. No crap in there but almonds and water. That's what almond milk is. Almonds and water, nothing else.
Hemp and cashew milk are yummy too.
They are. Cashew has a natural sweetness. Now again, great for omega-3 fatty acids. Great, it's a really good fat you're supposed to have. It says, how much, where's the almond milk? It says 1/4 cup of almond milk, so I'm going to double that. So I know from experience, I'm actually going to put a whole cup of almond milk. Because this recipe is very dry and chunky. And our applesauce, we didn't have as much, remember? So I know from experience, this is why you got to play with the recipe and get to know it, that I'm going to put a whole cup of almond milk. So this is looking nice. This is our wet portion for the evening. And, oh, I forgot. We need that. Almonds, I'm going to talk about that. And blueberries. Could be frozen or dried blueberries or huckleberries from the bush, as long as you got your sidearm to keep the bears away. Now, the recipe doesn't have nuts in it, but Pappy, if he's got nuts around, he's going to stick nuts and stuff.
Or seeds.
Or seeds, nuts and seeds. Actually, I forgot. I'm going to put some pumpkin seeds in as well as almond seeds. It's what almonds don't have seeds, as well as slivered almonds. I'm going to put that in the dry. We put some pumpkin seeds in. Seeds are also great for omega-3. Never too many. Here's why, because Pappy loves a crunchiness and a heartiness. It's like you eat these muffins, it's like you're out in Wyoming on the range. Like you got off your cowboy and you cooked and you bake at night and Cookie gives you some of this stuff.
You got off your horse.
Got off your horse?
Off your cowboy.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. Woohoo! Now, you put some of them in there and they're crunchy. I love crunchy muffins, right? Aren't they great? It feels like you're eating something for real. Now,
how much do you recommend? Or the recipe doesn't have.
Recipe doesn't have them, so you go by feel. Y'all figure it out how much you like. Now, the recipe says
your estimate's like maybe half a cup.
Half a cup. Okay. Recipe says half a cup of blueberries. So my cat's trying to get up in the business. I'll put her a cup, but actually I'll say, well, who cares about that? I'll put as many as I want. And I'll put blueberries. The blueberries really, especially the blueberries are nice and they sort of turn your batter purple, which is cool. And they give you a little sweetness to it. It helps when you're low on sugar to have something like a blueberry. Now, a blueberry has a lot, the glycemic index is much lower for blueberries than bananas, right? So in other words, you can eat blueberries without as much of a sugar push as you get from bananas. Which is why Pappy will have a tendency to eat berries more than oranges, more than bananas. Now again, think about it. These are the huge industrial crops that we eat that are grown, but you're small in the backyard in the mountains, or your small little Pennsylvania blueberry, New Jersey blueberry bushes, you pick them, you eat them, the strawberries, the berries. Strawberries are a little sweet, but berries, much better for sugar and fat intake than our bananas.
I think they might be the lowest fruit on the glycemic index.
Look at this, and that just makes me excited. Look at that. Whoa. Now that's our wet part. Now, it's basically you stick the wet and dry together, and you see what consistency you want to get, because you might have to add a little more milk to her.
What consistency are you shooting for, Pat?
Sort of a little thicker than a pancake batter.
Okay.
A little less thick than cookie batter.
Okay.
Right? So somewhere between, in fact, I think this would actually make a really good pancake or cookie, and I think you could do that just by the thickness of the batter. But you're going to shoot for a consistency between pancake batter and cookie batter. Let's see, I like this spoon better, it's bigger. And you stir her up like Che Guevara. I can already tell that's going to be way too thick, right? Look at that. This looks like I'm making bread or something. And it's sort of just the way this recipe is, because even when I use what they call for, I don't know why anybody would do that, it always comes out thick. Like this is almost to me like a cookie batter. And of course, when you do your muffins, you want to have a little, you don't want it to be runny, but when you do it in the pan, it's got to like drop down, right? Not like a sticky clump. Where's my almond milk? So I just take a little almond milk and I loosen her up a bit. Sometimes.
About how much are you putting in there?
Oh, about as much as you need. You don't know how to cook. You just play with it. And then, you know, sometimes people are uptight. You got to loosen them up a bit. And so you give them a little almond milk. It loosens them right up. We're getting there. Actually, we might be there. I think that's about what we're looking for. Right? See, we're going to make a pancake. Some pancake batter is actually that thick. But sometimes it's thinner. My daddy used to make them on the cast iron grill after Sunday school. It was a little thinner than that. And then we ate about 12 of them, put jelly and peanut butter, and then we took like a 4-hour Sunday afternoon nap. Because the Lord rested on the 7th day. And so did Pappy. Now, right? So now, you all know the drill from here. You look for your cupcake tin. And I suggest you get the little muffin
liners.
Yeah, too. Get the muffin liners. That way, you don't have to line with oil,
right,
butter, etc. Not that vegan with oil line with butter. Because if you do that, you're adding more fat content. This way, it won't stick with no additional fat content. So we're going to pour a couple of these. We're going to end the video. And then you might get a little snapshot when they're done so you see what they look like when they're done.
Tell a story of how we learned about muffin cupcake liners from the muffins made by our dear daughter.
Oh, our dear daughter, I think, is an incredibly brilliant, amazing young person who is a millennial and so doesn't always pay attention to things. And I swear she did this. We asked her to help with the oil, and I swear she put 5 pounds of oil in. And she used coconut oil and did not use liners. And it didn't stick, but we took it out, and there was like solidified coconut oil like that thick. And I bought it, when I bought into it, bited into it. Bit. That too. Pappy don't know no English. When I bit into it, it felt like I was eating a Big Mac. I just had oil like oozing out. So the liners, let's see if we can see this, right? The liners get rid of the extra oil.
In her defense, I think that what happened was that some of the ingredients were cold and the coconut oil had not fully desolidified, and we put a wet and sort of cold thing together, and that made the coconut oil re-solidify.
Now look at that color. Isn't that color of that batter just beautiful? I love the purple. Look at it. Getting away from herself a little bit. She stayed in there. But also look how, fix you here, we'll get you. Sometimes you gotta, like getting a cow ready to milk, you gotta be gentle sometimes. Gentle and delicate. One false move, you get a hoof in your forehead. Now,
how many spoonfuls are you putting in each one, Pat?
About a couple spoonfuls, so it's a little less than the top line. That one's all sort of messed up, but that's all right. We'll give that to a cat. And see how we got really lucky with the batter consistency here. See how you can drop it down. It's not sticking too much to the spoon, but it's not so thin. If it was really thin, it'd just be dripping all over the pan.
Right.
So this is very helpful. We're going to conclude our video right now, but we're going to see if we can get you a, I know what we're going to do on the blog. We're going to give you a photo of the end products. And below this video, we'll have the link to the recipe. So you have a wonderful scone-like, biscuit-like muffin. I forgot the most important part. The way you know you got it where you want it is you do one of these. This batter is so good. Nuts, blueberries, seeds, and much sweeter than you would think with the amount of sugar we have in there.
And you don't have to worry about any sort of foodborne illnesses because there isn't any egg in it.
No egg. It's healthy, it's very low in sugar, it's low in fat, it's yummy, and you feel like you're living out in the mountains. It's so hearty.
Maybe you'll get to see Granny eat one and see what she thinks.
Enjoy these. Look at the link for the menu and look at the photo for the final product. Be plant-based, be strong. Bye-bye.
Bye.